Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are back with another episode of Daily Palantir. On today's show, Palantir down 2% on the day. We'll talk about why it's down 2%, entire market taking a little bit of a tumble, so we'll talk about what's going on. Number two, Palantir signed a deal over the weekend with a familiar company that you guys might remember back from 2022 in South Korea. So we'll be talking about that deal and why it's important, particularly in the government defense space. And then finally, Palantir got a new partnership/award today. So we'll be talking about that, breaking it all down. Thank you for being here. Let's get into it. All right, first thing we'll do is the price action on Palantir right now. It is down a solid 2% on the day. We can see right here, $22.22, down about 2% on the day. S&P 500 as well, taking a bit of a hit, 508 down 0.5% on the day. Now, why is this down? Why is Palantir down? It's actually pretty simple to understand what's going on. CPI, PPI were pretty hot last week. We thought the market had avoided the sell-off from a hot inflation report on Thursday when we went up. I think we almost hit 520 on the S&P. And then Friday, there was a big sell-off. I think that news finally hit in. But not only did that news hit in, geopolitically, we had some turmoil that the market priced in on Friday that ended up unfolding over the weekend. Iran attacked Israel military sites with about 400 to 500 drones. Thankfully, Israel and the United States combined were able to pretty much get rid of all those drones from actually intercepting them. The Iron Dome system created by Raytheon, very powerful for Israel as well. And so there was not really a ton of damage, and Iran kind of purposefully made sure to not try to target civilians or anything of that nature because they probably knew what would happen if they really tried to go at it. Iran essentially wanted to get back at Israel for the perceived consulate attack in Syria and for what they've been doing in Palestine. So Iran told its people, hey, look, we got Israel back, when in reality, they told Israel the drones were coming about 7 hours before they launched them, so Israel could get prepared. And then on top of that, they only targeted military sites for a reason. So this attack was pretty bad over the weekend. Why does it impact Palantir? Well, for two reasons. Number one, the entire market feeling a little bit of that geopolitical instability, so selling off. Palantir not immune to that. Some people thought Palantir would go up because Palantir is working with Israel. I personally believed, and I'm going to do more research on this over the next few weeks and then, give my updated thoughts, but I definitely believe Palantir played a role in helping Israel prepare for this attack, given there was so much time in advance in which they knew an attack was happening. So I'm sure Palantir software was used, but perceptually, I don't think the market is willing to give Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Palantir massive premiums after this attack, because the idea from the market, at least so far, is that this was a one-off attack. Israel says they're going to retaliate, but maybe they don't. If they do retaliate and then Iran retaliates, then yeah, we're looking at a little bit of a proxy war between Israel and Iran. And if then Russia, US, China get involved, that's when you could have the sort of World War III fear-mongering that happens because of that. I don't think that's happening. But I don't think the market felt, oh, Palantir, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, they're going to get billions and billions of dollars overnight to be able to prepare for this war, because it doesn't seem like this attack was a start to a large-scale war. And as a result of that, even though that geopolitical instability technically is where Palantir is able to shine, it doesn't mean it's going to result in more revenue for Palantir, and that's why the market probably doesn't have it up today. So Palantir's down, entire market's down, hot CPI, PPI last week. We could not avoid it in terms of inflation being sticky, and geopolitical instability over the weekend has led to most companies being down as the market secures some profits they had in Q1 and gets ready for maybe a couple of rough weeks in the markets. Okay, let's get to the big news today that came out over the weekend right here. HHI is now working with Palantir for an unmanned surface vehicle. Both HHI Industries, and Palantir agreed to join develop a Reconnaissance USV by 2026 and later battleship model. So let's read a little bit about this. HHI, a South Korean shipbuilding and machine conglomerate, joined hands with U.S. artificial intelligence defense contract Palantir Technologies for the development of an unmanned surface vehicle, or USV, a game changer in future naval warfare to improve its competitiveness in the special ship business. The vessel operating on the surface of the water without a crew is regarded as vital to various operations such as sea mine search and removal, as well as in combat replacing manned ships. So HHI and Palantir have worked together in the past. I'm going to explain how they've worked together in the past and what Palantir is doing with them. But HHI is a ship making company, a shipyard manufacturing company. They do a lot of things in the shipbuilding space. And this contract is a naval warfare extension on what they've been working on in the commercial sector, which is very interesting because it's another basically government contract that Palantir is getting, but with one of the private contractors that works with the government in South Korea. HHI said on Sunday that it had signed a memorandum of understanding with Palantir to develop this USV by 2026 and a battleship model later at the U.S. company's office in Washington, D.C. The two companies plan to pioneer the unmanned warship market, a blue ocean dominated by cutting-edge technology based on the achievements and the trust the partners have built up so far, says John Won Ho, chief executive of the Naval and Special Ship Unit of HHI that handles their defense business. HHI has also been increasing cooperation with major global defense companies such as GE Aerospace to expand its presence in the naval vessel industry. So what does this mean if you're a Palantir shareholder? There's no impact on the stock because there's not really numbers here, and likely even if there were numbers, the numbers wouldn't be substantial. What this does mean is that in the context of aerospace and defense, Palantir is continuing to find momentum, continuing to find partnerships, and honestly, just continuing to get their sticky fingers in every little part. I mean, I didn't even know unmanned surface vehicles were really a thing, quite frankly. This is what they look like. As you can see them right here. They are battleships that are used in naval warfare. And the sea, just like the air, is obviously an incredibly important element to winning when it comes to defense and when it comes to war. And it seems like South Korea is starting to invest a lot more in their naval defense, and Palantir is partnering with one of the leading commercial companies in that space, HHI. Again, Palantir is just getting more and more government contracts. If it doesn't show up in the stock price, to me, that is a blessing because that means that the market is not pricing that in. Eventually, the market will have to price that in when these contracts turn into material revenue and into material contracts for the government of South Korea itself, which we're not getting on this deal, but I think that would happen in the future. And that's obviously going to be very bullish for Palantir. Now, what is Palantir's relationship with HHI? So we're going to incorporate something that I haven't done on the channel for the past couple of weeks because I've just been super busy, but we're going to try to do it every single day just so we can show how this tool works. I asked Hobbits AI. This is the LLM that I launched last month that I built on Palantir. It's trained on over 25 million words of Palantir data. Hobbits.ai in the description. You can sign up. It costs $42 a year to use the entire thing if you want to support the channel, and you get 10 messages free where you can ask questions. But basically, think of this as your go-to AI assistant to ask any questions you want about Palantir, updated daily, and it has all the relevant information to learn about Palantir in one centralized spot. So I just said, tell me about Palantir and HHI. Here's what we got. Palantir has established a significant partnership with HHI, one of South Korea's largest conglomerates with a strong presence in the shipbuilding industry. This collaboration is centered around Palantir Foundry, which is an advanced data integration and management platform designed to transform the way organizations operate by creating a central operating system for their data. The partnership aims to leverage Palantir's expertise in big data analytics to enhance various aspects of HHI's operations. Now, the relationship between Palantir and HHI exemplifies how modern software solutions can be applied to traditional industries such as shipbuilding. When I saw this partnership in 2022, what was so interesting to me was that it basically reminded me of what Palantir did with Skywise for the shipbuilding industry. Skywise was the partnership we had with Airbus, where we basically built the de facto, in the words of Karp, operating system for the entire airlines industry, subcontractors, vendors, all the elements of airplane supply chains across United, Delta, Southwest are using Palantir's Skywise in combination with Airbus. And I think we're going to get the same thing to an extent with Palantir and HHI. By integrating siloed data sources into a unified analytics framework, Palantir Foundry enables companies within the group, such as Korea Shipbuilding and its subsidiaries, to optimize their processes, improve safety standards, and increase operational efficiency. The expansion of this partnership from September 2022 reflects both parties' commitments to digital transformation with the shipbuilding sector. During an initial pilot phase, teams across the Korea Shipbuilding Company's subsidiaries utilize Foundry for tasks like improving architectural designs of ships and enhancing production line quality. The success of these applications led to further investment in deploying Foundry across additional facets of HHI's operations. And again, right here, the expanded partnership is valued at $20 million over 5 years. It deepens Palantir's involvement with South Korea's storied shipbuilders as part of their future of shipyard vision. This future of shipyard vision, this to me is going to become Skywise for HHI and for the shipyarding industry. South Korea, a very, very big player when it comes to manufacturing ships. It seems like Palantir is becoming the core data analytics platform that HHI is going to be able to use, and Foundry is just one step of what this looks like. In my opinion, if Palantir is able to pull this off, and obviously Foundry has done very well with them, which is why they extended that partnership over the next 5 years, AIP built on top of Foundry. Remember, the whole value of AIP is if you can pull in that data from an ontology, which is why you need Foundry for AIP to become effective. That's probably a pretty easy upsell to HHI. I mean, if they just signed a naval defense memorandum of understanding, meaning they're going to work on building naval defense warships in combination with the commercial practice they have, it doesn't seem that crazy for Palantir to be like, hey, how about you guys try AIP and maybe pay us another 20, 30 million bucks if you like it? I mean, this is where the penetration of Palantir's ability to get Foundry into all these customers over the past basically 5 years is going to result in increased penetration of customer count. We saw last quarter, they brought in 47 net new customers, but they signed 103 deals. Likely, you could argue 10 or 20% of those new deals were AIP upsells to existing customers because they didn't have as many deals as they had new customers. So I think this quarter, someone like HHI would procure AIP. The question is just going to be, when can they do it? How many years can Palantir get on them? And if that can lead to even more customers downstream that Palantir has with HHI, like their different subsidiaries and vendors, to also adopt something like AIP. It's bullish. Another defense contract for Palantir that will one day materialize into more revenue for Palantir. I think the market's not pricing it in. That's a good thing. And ultimately, lets investors know, hey, this ship is headed in the right direction. I just thought of that, ironically. Ship, HHI. All right. Next topic. All right. Last thing we'll talk about here is a award that Palantir got. Arnie posted this on Twitter. I thought this was really interesting. So Palantir and Colorado, Wyoming Regional Innovation Engine awarded inaugural U.S. National Science Foundation Regional Innovation Engines grant to support climate resiliency. That is a mouthful. So, Colorado Wyoming Regional Innovation Engine recently received the U.S. National Science Foundation Inaugural Regional Innovation Engines Program grant. This was a prestigious award, and it was primarily due to their environmental and climate technology initiatives. As a corporate team member of the COWY engine, Denver-based Palantir will bring its knowledge and expertise applying critical artificial intelligence and massive scale data integration expertise to the engine to help accelerate the pace of innovation needed for our nation's climate resilience. Nothing too crazy, just an update I wanted to bring you guys. Palantir basically has gotten various awards from the NSF before. We've seen other PRs where they've worked together with the NSF to get different grants. So they're getting a new award here in combination with the Colorado Wyoming Regional Innovation Engine. Why Colorado? Because Palantir is headquartered in Denver. And it seems like this grant, we don't have the exact numbers on this grant, but it seems like this grant is going to help Palantir essentially provide more software when it comes to being able to understand massive data integration at scale for climate resiliency and for hopefully tackling the climate problem that we currently have. Now, one of the things about climate change that I think is very interesting is that a lot of times it feels hopeless when we think about climate change because we're just, a couple of people and individuals in our life. Maybe we could recycle here and there, but like if the climate's legitimately changing, how is that going to affect? How can we affect the broader, ecosystem? I think the big thing here, and I can easily understand the pessimistic standpoint, but I think the big thing here is to recognize that companies are the solution to the climate problem. I have a different perspective other than the Greta Thunbergs of the world that basically feel companies are the problem. In my opinion, renewable energy and companies innovating out from the problems we have when it comes to clean tech and climate change, that's the only way we solve these issues. So climate change is a big data problem at the highest of levels, and it's a big data problem that will one day, if not already, is worth trillions of dollars if you figure it out. I mean, if you can figure out how to make sure Florida isn't underwater in the next 30 years because of rising sea levels, well, that's a really valuable thing to do. So I think a company like Palantir potentially will be very integral into developing systems, especially when it comes to AI and machine learning, to be able to navigate the amount of data we have when it comes to understanding weather patterns and things of that nature, finding patterns within those data sets, and then ultimately allowing decision makers, whether it's at the NSF, whether it's at the US government, whatever it may be, to navigate the problem of climate change. So it's interesting that we got a grant for this. I think we haven't talked a lot about Palantir and its role in trying to resolve climate change or support climate resiliency, but I do think it is a pretty big problem. Eventually, it will become a bigger problem, and you're going to need companies to be able to innovate out of this, or we're going to need to stop growing. And because we're a capitalist society, we're likely not going to stop growing. So we're going to have to grow and innovate a way to be able to resolve the issues of climate change over the long term. And it seems like Palantir might be in a pretty good situation to try to do that. All right, that's it for me. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. DailyPalantir.substack.com. That is my free email newsletter every single day. You can check it out to get this video in written form. I write the whole thing, so you guys will be able to read it if you like reading more than watching. And Hobbits.ai, please make sure you sign up and check it out. You can get 10 free messages as you ask the LLM anything you want to know about Palantir. And then over, if you want it for the full year, $42. Hopefully it's cheap enough for people to afford it. And it's your go-to AI assistant for Palantir. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys in the next one.